Um, Hi guys. My name's Ren. My pronouns are they, them. It's awesome to meet you. It's awesome to be here sort of as part of the Crip Hit team. I am an elder millennial. I'm still an emo kid. I grew up gaming before I even really knew what gaming was. I would make LARPs for my siblings and their friends and act out all the NPCs, and it was fun. Um, and when I got sort of out more into the world and found out that there's a whole community of people doing this too, like that was awesome. It was also awesome to discover that I was not the only queer person in the universe. That was cool. Um, yeah, when you grow up in a like a fundamentalist religious separatist movement, you really do think you're all alone, and it's cool to figure out that you're not. And that's what gaming's always been to me. It's always been about community. Cooperative storytelling is my favorite thing in the world. That sense of like we all have an idea of where the arc's going to go, and we all work together to make it happen and tell the story together. Like that's fucking magic. That is so cool. And that's why like I'm excited to be a part of this group. Let's see. So I have fibromyalgia and some other problems with my back. I am pretty much in fairly severe pain all the time. I don't really remember what it feels like not to be in pain. I think that's kind of important to talk about because we don't really talk about pain a lot in this country, and when we do, there's a lot of stigma around it. So it's kind of important to have that conversation, I think. There are some days where I can go on a gentle walk, and there are some days where I need a cane to stand in line to buy bread, and there are some days where I need a wheelchair to get around very well. And also, people don't like it when you're not one thing.
Hmm.
They like you to just be one thing, or they don't really get it. And so that's another thing that's kind of important to talk about, I think, around disability is like, sometimes it depends on the day, depends on how many spoons I have and, how much pain I'm in, what I can do. Um, I get to work from home a few days a week. That's been a lifesaver. I've also, for the past couple of years, been struggling with long COVID, which just sort of adds another level of like exhaustion and depression and brain fog and all that stuff. So it's the negative modifiers stack kind of, and
Yep.
it's been a little bit tough. So, but I'm really excited about this group. I'm happy to be here.
And we're glad to have you.
I have, thank you. I have had depression since I was a child. I think that's probably what happens when you grow up queer in a cult. You
Hmm.
just that happens.
Or just in a cult in
But
general.
yeah, in general. But I also have like severe anxiety and aphasia, which is fun. Like I'll reach for the word I want, and then the shelf is there, but the word is not on the shelf, and it's frustrating as hell. So if you see me like pause and then go a slightly different direction with a sentence, that's probably what just happened. I'll think of the word later. I just don't have it right then. Um, but yeah, that's me. I live on the edge of town in a ramshackle house with my wife and our three cats. It's very like sort of forest witch kind of a vibe, which is accurate.
Very nice.
And I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. And looks like you might have frozen up there. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Yeah, your video's not moving. I hear you just fine though.
Oh no.
We'll give you a second
Okay.
to try to. You can't have any of these go without a little bit of technical difficulty. You want to stop the video and
That's,
start the
yeah,
video back up?
sure. Okay, hold on a
Do
second.
what you need to do. And of course, for those of you that are watching these at home and want to help support us, this is where the support's going to go, is going to getting better equipment for all of us so that we all have, better cameras or microphones or whatever it is that each of us needs to have a better quality stream. But yeah, you're fine now. You're back.
Okay.
So if you are following us, go over to our Patreon. It's on the YouTube page, or if you're already on the Patreon, you can subscribe for whatever amount you want to give. There is no required amount. There are no tiers. It's whatever you want to give, and all of our Patreon backer only material is for a minimum of $1. So as long as you're subscribed for even just $1 a month, you get to see all the videos and everything. And once the season starts, we'll be putting them up there first before they go to YouTube and other places. So you'll get first access to everything that we put out. Right now, everything's going live simultaneously because we're trying to build the audience. So, but thank you, and thank you, Ren, for joining us. And we're going to be doing a scene with your character, Hearken, today. And Hearken is what we're calling the, I guess, the elder millennial of the group, if you want to put it that way.
That's fair.
Yeah, Hearken is the oldest of the group, has been around the longest, about 10 years, I think we decided.
Yeah.
Somewhere around 10 years. And
yep, about
they'll be kind
about
of
10 years.
the old guru of the group once we get going. So for Hearken, it's going to be less, I think, less productive or interesting to do a slab scene than it might be for the newer kids, because Hearken's changed a lot since the beginning and come quite a ways since the beginning, and really isn't that same person in some ways anymore. So we're going to start them, like we did with Ark. We're going to start them with a scene from their past, but closer to more recent. Something that does have a lot more to do with who they are and why they are where they are right now and why they're doing what they're doing right now. This is going to be about a year and a half ago, and it'll be in Southern California. The group that Hearken was a part of used to travel up and down the West Coast, and Hearken was lucky in that they had a group of created that they belonged to. A lot of created can go their entire existence without meeting more than maybe a handful of others of their kind, maybe a dozen at most, and they don't often form bonds with them. It's just kind of in passing. Hearken actually had a group for a while of a total of 4, 3 others plus them, and they found family. Their family, and found family, and they found Hearken in Las Vegas. That's where they started. Hearken started, and the group found Hearken there and talked them into going with them. And so Hearken packed up all of their stuff, and they all went on a little journey, been going up and down the coast, doing different performances. One of them is a street magician, another is just a street artist and performer, and the third one is kind of the muscle that keeps everybody safe. So we're going to start with a night in Long Beach, where the member of the group that went by the name of Slate was a large, muscular, kind of strong and silent type. To the mortal gaze, he appears black. To created eyes, you can see that he's actually more made of actual like slate stone that he's been named after. And he's got a lot of strange writing that is etched all over, like tattoos, that's etched into the stone all over the body, and in the mortal guise does look like tattoo work. And if you're not looking closely, it just looks like design work and random kind of symbols and things like that that all kind of flow together, but actually is a language. It's not a language that you know or that he ever taught any of the group, but he says that all of it means things. And you've actually seen him on occasion adding to it. He is not the only member.
I feel like...
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I just feel like Hearken would have definitely wanted to know that language and had to work really hard not to constantly badger Slate about it.
And Slate probably took it, fairly good-naturedly, but didn't ever really volunteer much information. Slate didn't talk too much to begin with, and
Yeah.
when they did, it was very much what they felt like saying, and that was about it. Slate, however, is not the only one in the group that is good at branding and tattoos and things like that. There is also another member of the group named Gatsby that we'll mention now, because Gatsby gave Hearken a very specific tattoo. And that tattoo gave them
Yes.
permanent access to one of the many powers that the created have, depending on an individual created's path in life and what they're studying and how they're studying the human existence and the human condition, and the way they're approaching things philosophically kind of determines what powers they have and what things they can influence and how their own inner alchemy works. And this is not a path that Hearken follows, but it is a power that Hearken had seen used by their friend Gatsby, and as a gift on an anniversary of when they met you, they gave you this brand, this tattoo, that gave you permanent access to this power. And you want to mention what that is and what it does?
Oh, it's a great power. So anytime someone suggests a bad idea, like a dangerous or ill-considered solution to a problem, and someone else goes along with it, Harkin gets like an extra, I think it's willpower or something like that. They get extra power from it. But it's just so great because this is what Harkin does, is they love bad ideas. They absolutely adore trying things that are probably going to explode, because that's how you learn.
Yeah.
That's science, right?
You
Like,
learn a
it
lot
doesn't
more
matter
from
if you get a
failures
bad
than you do.
result,
Yeah,
as long as you get a result.
exactly. They're a lot more interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so,
Yes, exactly. And I feel like Gatsby probably understood that very well about Harkin, and this was, his way of saying, like, I get you.
yep. And so that happened a couple.
The Harkin. Sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead and finish.
I was just gonna say the Harkin that we're gonna see here is very different in some ways from the person that is gonna be sort of like playing in the game. Harkin, when we meet them in the game, is like super not a joiner, like wants nothing to do with
And
really anybody.
it's going to have a lot to do
So
with
it's
what.
fun to go back into the past.
Yeah, and that current attitude is going to have a lot to do with what happens here in the session that we're doing now. This is kind of the reason why Hearken is the way they are when you meet them in the first session of the game. So,
exactly.
A couple of months ago, Gatsby gave Hearken the brand, and that will stick with them forever, unless they actively, consciously destroy it or remove it, which would take your own alchemy to do.
Which they will never do.
No.
Yeah, they would never do that.
It's probably going into winter right about now. It's a little cool, but it's California, so it doesn't get that cold. Especially Southern California doesn't get too terribly cold. And at dinner on this specific night, Slate shocked everybody by announcing that they intended to, in the next couple of days, create a child. Now, the creation of more of the created is a hot topic of debate. There are those who, like Hearken, are of the opinion that didn't ask to be created, didn't want to be created. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do, and feel it's wrong to just put somebody into this condition, into this position without asking, or without permission, or without thinking of what it's going to do to them, especially if they don't intend to raise them or take care of them. And then there are others that see it as an integral part of becoming human, that if you truly want to have your new dawn and become human and find a way to be a real person, part of that is raising a child and giving life to something else. And then there are also some of those on a more esoteric level who feel that in order for you to become human, you have to replace, in alchemical speak, you have to
Mm,
replace like with like. That you can't make something from nothing.
right.
So if you're going to subtract something, you have to add something. And that if you're going to become human, that's one less created in the world. There has to be someone there to take your place when you go. And so for
Nothing's
some,
ever created or destroyed.
right, exactly, it just changed. And so there
Yeah.
are some that create children for that sole reason, that they don't personally want to have a child or believe that it's right or wrong. It's they feel that it's the rule and the way it works. Of course, nobody can agree on it. It's all up for debate. Um, Slate did not give a reason for why they are doing it at dinner. Just that this is something that they decided that they're going to do and they want to do and need to do. They ask for and seldom ever require anything from the group. They don't ask for help with things very much. They don't need help. They don't really make requests. So they make it clear that this is one of the few times they are letting the group know that this is my decision and I need you to respect it. Regardless of your personal opinions, I appreciate them and I respect your opinions, but I need you to respect my decision. And kind of left it at that and walked away from dinner, which then turned to Never, who's the third member of the other three. There's Gatsby, there's Slate, and there's Never. And Never is a hot-tempered goth punk runty young woman who is very loud and very temperamental and likes to argue just for the sake of arguing and likes to cause all kinds of trouble, which Hearken probably enjoys that part. And
Oh yeah.
Hearken always gets a good argument out of her. So Slate,
Hearken loves arguing.
yep, Slate left dinner and Never went into a rant. Gatsby kind of listened and humored them, but said, hey, they don't ask us for much, and they never have. And they do a lot for us and keep us safe. I'm going to go ahead and respect their decision. And if that's what they want, then that's what they want, and I'll support them in that. And excused himself for the night, which left Ever or Never ranting at you for a while. How would Harkin have taken that announcement?
Very badly at first. Harkin's own creation was not a good experience. They were not created by someone who wanted a family or wanted to raise a child or anything like that. They were created by someone who had this amazing library of lore that they collected from created all up and down all over the world, different ideas and different myths. And they had all these journals, and basically he wanted to attempt the new dawn and then come back as a human and pick up where he left off, and created Harkin to be like, here, stay here, don't touch anything, just watch all this stuff for me. And Harkin did not react well to this.
No.
Harkin was like, I'm going to take these because original research, how can you say no? And I'm going to tear them apart and I'm going to find all of the answers to all of the questions because I'm a fucking scientist.
Yep.
And also this is my place now and you can leave. So I feel like they would not have taken it well. They didn't feel like it was fair to just dump them into a position that this guy didn't want to have. Like, here, take this life I don't want anymore. And so I think it would have taken them a while to come around to the idea that this is different, because this is Slate wants to do something that's a lot more like human parenting and less like creating a placeholder or a replacement or something
And
like that.
Slate did mention that they weren't going to just create and then ditch the kid. The kid would be staying with them.
Right. So I think Harkin would have had like some really mixed feelings at first. Is Never ranting because Never doesn't think this is a good idea?
Partially, It's a number of things. Hearken knows Never well enough by now. It's been about 3 years, 4 years they've been together. Um, they know Never well enough to know that part of it is that she does not deal with change well. She does
Mm.
not deal with changes in the routine, changes in the status quo, changes for all that she rails and wants to bring about change and tear down the system and create chaos and topple the hierarchy and everything else. They personally
Hell
don't
yeah.
deal with change on their own level very well. So,
On a
and they
micro
totally know this
level.
and know that
Yeah.
they're kind of hypocritical about it, that their own environment changing really bothers them and they don't adjust quickly. But they also mean well and they do eventually get over it and tend to adapt. They just flail and throw fits and tend to rant a lot whenever something happens. Um, Hearken, having the library that they have and all of the research and everything, Hearken is going to be the one in the group that knows some of the actual terminology and some of the lore behind the created and what you guys are, and knows that there are different kinds of created, that there are different, I wouldn't necessarily call them like families or groups or clans like that, but basically how you were created has a lot to do with your temperament and a lot to do with your alchemy and a lot to do with your outlook and your personality. Harkin has learned
And
this,
your abilities.
and your
Yeah.
abilities,
Yeah,
yes,
to some extent.
and
Yeah.
that those who are made from bodies plural, stitched together, patchwork, um, however you want to look at it, they, like the initial monster in Frankenstein, are always questioning, are always unsatisfied, and are always angry or hurting or upset. That they deal with a deep level of pain and trauma, and their body isn't one body. It doesn't always do what they want it to. A lot of those who are of that type have rebellious body parts that will sometimes not act in concert with the rest of them, and they'll have to get them
Oh, we
into
know how that
line.
feels.
They also, which gives them a baseline level of torment and pain and frustration that most created don't have. So they're already starting at a higher level of just general stress,
Yeah.
and that only amplifies further in that their moods and emotions are a lot more volatile. They're a lot more fiery, and they are a lot more kind of hit and miss on. Sometimes they'll react exactly the way you expect them to and be very over the top, and sometimes they don't react at all. It's almost like they don't care,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to tell with them. And that type that Never is one of. Um, a lot of it is that she rants to basically deal with her feelings as a way of processing. That her
Yeah.
rants and her tirades and her fits are largely a coping mechanism. They are a stim, a way of soothing,
Yeah.
and that it's not personal. And they'll often say some heated things and some sometimes mean things, but the group knows her well enough by now to know that she doesn't always mean exactly what she says, and that things that are
Oh
said
yeah.
in the height of her temper are not to be taken seriously or you know taken as long term. That she'll get over things. So yeah, Harkin would get the impression that she's ranting because this is a major upheaval. It's not only something that she doesn't personally agree with. She thinks that there shouldn't be any of you, and that this is not an
Mm.
existence that anyone would wish upon anyone. And so, actively creating another, she feels as is cruel and against everything she personally stands for. But it's also going to be introducing a new member of the group and a new person into your your lives, and she doesn't know how she's going to cope with that either. Because, what if she doesn't like them, but she likes Slate, and how is she going to put up with this kid if she doesn't like the kid, and is it going to hurt things with him, etc. So she's just going through a lot. And so she kind of winds herself out and eventually reaches the end of her tantrum cycle and eventually excuses herself to go off to bed, leaving Hearken
Yeah.
at the campfire by themselves. I imagine that Hearken's often the last one up into the night, writing or reading or
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think they would have been like, oh God, not again. But they would have listened to everything that Never had to say and tried to be as supportive as they know how, because they understand a little bit about where they're coming from
Mhm.
and she's coming from. So
And after a time, Slate comes back out and sits down at the fire with you and is quiet as they often are at first. They don't really say anything, they just kind of nod as they sit down. And they're
yeah,
just
I think there's a lot of sort of companionable silence between Harkin and Slate
mhm.
at like late at night. So it's not unusual.
And he's staring into the fire and just kind of almost like maybe he's scrying in it, you don't know, but he's staring into the fire and just kind of sitting and thinking. And one thing you've learned that with Slate is that he may not say a lot. He doesn't have a lot of use for words, but when he does use them, they usually mean something. But he is very,
Mm-hmm.
very cerebral and thoughtful. He's always thinking.
Yes.
He's always reflecting and pondering and considering, and is highly intelligent. And so
Oh
he's
yeah.
he's sitting
When
there.
he talks, I think we all listen because it's always something important and has been well thought out and needs to be said.
It's in some ways it's kind of the opposite of Never, in that Never will say a lot of shit she doesn't mean just to get it out of her system.
Yeah.
Slate never says anything he doesn't mean.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of sitting there and he's staring at the fire for a long moment. And after a moment, he says, and you're assuming it's to you because you're the only one there, and he doesn't generally talk to
Mm,
himself that you've ever seen. He says,
fair.
"She'll be okay."
She will. It'll probably take a bit of adjustment. That was a big bombshell for you to just sort of like surprise us with in the middle of dinner. But I mean, I know that you must have thought about it for quite a while before you said anything. I get that.
He nods.
She'll be all right. I can't. Why? Why is this important to you?
I need to see if I am like the one who made me. I need to know that I am not.
Okay, I get that.
The one who made me was not unlike the one who made you.
Yeah.
They had their own reasons and purpose, and none of it had to do with me.
Yeah.
If I am to be human, if I am to find peace, I need to know that I am not lacking on a fundamental level that which I need to be human.
You mm, you do know there's other ways to do that than parenthood, right, mate? Like you could adopt a dog or something, start a, I don't know, story hour. You don't have to jump right into the deep end. I mean, I have major reservations about this on an ethical level, but I do trust you. And I think that's what it's going to have to come down to. I have some knowledge in the research that was left to me, then it's at your disposal. I I can't say I agree with what you want to do, but I see how it's different, and I respect and trust you enough to know that you're not like the one who made you. You're not like the one who made me. I believe that. I believe in you that way. I always have.
Our existence echoes. Those that we meet, those that we touch, those who come after us. Most echoes amplify and carry that which created them. If we do not make our own and teach them better and show them and treat them better, will it ever get better? There will be more of us whether we make them or not. If we make them and instill in them the things that we didn't get, that we didn't have, we make our own society better.
Yeah, got some smoke in my eyes. It's a good point. I can't I don't really have an argument to answer you on that one. So, all right. All right. All right.
He nods. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
And thank you for asking, for wanting to know.
You know me, I always want to know. I want to know everything.
He nods again, and he gets up, dusts himself off, and heads back over towards his tent.
Yeah, I think Hearken sits for a while and looks up at the stars or whatever stars they can see, and uh and thinks for a long time before they go lay down,
So we had to get her cameo in.
because that's very important.
Yes. Okay. So the night passes without any further incident. In the days that came after that, things were a little strained, a little tense. Never went into a brooding phase where she didn't talk that much, was a lot more quiet and distant and aloof instead of being very fiery and engaged all the time. So she swung in the
I
other
think we
direction.
all know her. We all know her well enough to just kind of give her space when that happens, because she just needs time to process whatever she's
And
processing.
Slate gave her space. Continued to do the things
Yeah.
that Slate does for the group, protecting them, looking over them, making sure they have what they need. But he also didn't, in any way, what's the word I'm looking for? Didn't get too mothery or too
Didn't hover.
didn't hover.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't get too hovery or clingy or overwhelm them either. Just kind of let them have their space. And Gatsby, of course, acted like nothing happened and everything was fine. And
Yeah. I want to talk to Gatsby about this maybe another night
okay,
before the
so
ritual
you want to set
starts.
aside a time to try to catch Gatsby to talk. Okay, we can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so a few nights later, Never and Slate are back at the camp. getting things ready for dinner, and you and Gatsby are out on some errands to collect a few things that you need, and it's just the two of you, so good time to talk if you want. You're walking through a kind of residential, commercial little neighborhood, not too far from the beach, and it's fairly quiet. It's a early winter evening. You're out walking, just the two of you, and perfect time to approach them if you want.
Definitely. I should just make it clear. Harken's close with everybody. Harken considers all of them family.
Mm-hmm.
Gatsby's the person that Harken's probably the closest
Yeah.
to. In Harken is ace, and they're on the aromantic spectrum as well. But if they were gonna say they had a partner, like it would be Gatsby.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gatsby's the person that the tattoo means a lot because it's like Gatsby saying like I get you, like,
Yeah.
and I understand you, and I love you for who you are, kind of thing. And Harken feels the same way about all of them, but I think kind of confides maybe in Gatsby a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more than they do the other two.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so they're walking and it's crunchy outside and the sky is beautiful in that early wintry way. And I think it's probably just quiet for a couple minutes, like because they have, again, like the ability to be quiet together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a rare thing. Um, Especially for Harkin, who's always asking questions.
Right.
For them to like be able to be quiet with someone is special. Um, I think they probably just say like kind of knock their shoulder against his shoulder and be like, "So what do you think of all this?"
What do I think of what?
Oh, come on, Never's been pouting and processing for days.
Yes. Yes. Well,
You knew what I was
that's...
talking about.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Oh, me. What is there to say? It's not my place to have an opinion on what others do with their lives. If that's what...
That doesn't mean you don't have an opinion,
Oh, I
though,
have
does it?
opinions on everything, of course, but that doesn't mean that
I
I
know you
give my
do.
opinions or feel that my opinions carry weight just because they're mine.
Right. That's fair. But it's not like I'm going to go back and tell them what you said either.
Oh, I trust you. I know you wouldn't just go blab. In fact, I don't think any of you would. Say what you want about any of us. We don't tend to gossip with ourselves. Hmm.
No, we don't.
It's very complicated. It's a whole thing as to whether you even think we should be making more of our kind, or there should be our kind to begin with. There's definitely an urge in many of us to make more of our kind. There is loneliness and the need for companionship, the need for someone like us, someone who understands us. But I don't know that all of us feel the need to go and make another. I haven't felt it.
I certainly don't.
I haven't to this point. I've thought about it as a purely creative exercise, but I haven't actually thought about it on a serious level. I haven't ever really felt the need to go and do it. You're asking me because I assume you have opinions.
I mean, I do, I have opinions about everything, but I'm asking you because I respect your opinion and I was curious.
I wouldn't respect my opinion any more than you respect your own or someone else's. I just one person with an opinion. I think it surprised me, to be sure. It was not something I would have expected. But I think that if this is what he feels he needs, then he should do it. He should have it. It's something that he wants to try for his own reasons, and I support that. He has always supported us when we needed him. Why shouldn't I do the same?
He has. That's the conclusion I've come to. I mean, I've got some serious, oh, arguments against it, but
I mean, there are all kinds
what
of
he's
dangers.
doing is not the same, right?
No, it's not.
There are.
No,
That's the other thing.
if you mean he's not doing what was done to you or done to him, no, he's not. That's not
Right.
what he's doing. There are dangers, to be
But
sure.
there is also the chance that it's not going to work, or it's going to go horribly wrong or kill one of us, or you never know with these things. You really
Or,
don't.
perhaps scariest of all, there's the chance that it works and it's not what he thought it would be.
Yeah, that really is the scariest thing of all, isn't it? I can't. Oh, I can't bear to think about him disappointed. He asks for so little. I think the only thing we really can do is just try to make it as smooth of a ritual as we can and help as much as we can so that it goes off well.
I think that's probably best. I intend to do whatever I can, and if he wants my help, I will be there. If he wants me out of the way, I will stay out of the way. Whatever he needs is what I will give.
It's a good way to put it. I do have some notes I should look at though. I think I'm sure actually there's something about the kind of ritual he wants to do. I should pull that out for him. Might help.
Oh, for his kind, you mean?
Yeah, just different pieces of lore and different bits of information that were gathered by my own progenitor.
Each,
I tore the notebooks all apart and sorted them into piles the first thing, obviously.
obviously. Well, I don't know if he plans to do a ritual based on things that he's learned on his own, or things that he's read when he's borrowed books from you, or something that was passed down to him. I have no idea. I honestly am quite curious, but like everything else, it's his decision.
It is. And he is a good person.
Oh,
I
definitely
mean,
the best of
in
us.
the loosest sense of the term, I think.
I think
But
he's the
I
most
do think
human of us.
he's the best of us. Yes, I think so. So I think it's only right that we help him if we can.
Of course. So you finish your walk back to camp, and in the days that come, he begins to prepare, and he has been doing his own research, some from you in books that he's borrowed from time to time, or things that he's read. Also, he has on occasion gone off for a couple of days off to wherever it is that he goes, and each of you sometimes come and go on your own for a few days for your own personal journeys or side quests or what have you. And he's
Sure.
apparently been working on this for quite a while. It's actually been since before you met him. He's been putting things together for this. This is something that, like everything with him, it seems sudden and abrupt and out of the blue, but is actually something that he's been thinking about and planning for since before he knew you.
I feel like Hearken was surprised for about 2 seconds and then not surprised at all.
Right. He just rarely ever tells you what he's thinking or what he's got going on in his head. So it's
Until
hard to
he's
tell.
ready
Yeah,
to.
until he's ready to talk about
Yeah.
it. But this is something that he clearly has been thinking about for quite some time, and even surprised them, how long he's been thinking about this. So the day comes, and he wants to do it at dawn, and he wants to do it down on the beach. So he takes you down to a bit of beach that is not near the boardwalk and has a bit of privacy to it, where you're not likely to get joggers running by or the local, homeless or surfer bros or anything that's going to interrupt. because that would all be bad. And
It
he
would.
is going to do it out there on the beach, right at the edge of the water. And he spends the hours of early morning before the sun rises making a body out of sand and mud right there out of the beach with ocean water and beach sand, and he's sculpting basically a body that is lying on the beach, and has even sculpted into the sand a funeral shroud over it, and you can see the folds in the shroud, and the gentle cascades of the fabric, but it's all sand sculpture. It's like the most elaborate sand sculpture you've ever seen.
It should be said, should not need to be said, that Hearken is like taking copious notes and trying really hard not to interrupt him by asking like 50 million questions.
And Never is sitting on the beach about 30 feet down, staring out at the waves in the dark. Gatsby is nearby creating light that he uses to sculpt by. Gatsby is providing the light with his own inner alchemy, his created light as a part of his light bringer powers, and
Right.
is illuminating that area of the beach for Slate to make the body. And you are, of course, allowed to stand by and watch and take notes and whatever you like. He's quiet the entire time.
Can I check on Never real quick?
Sure. You want to go check on her? Sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go sit down next to her for a second and be like, hey.
Hey.
You know, this really isn't gonna change very much. We're still gonna be us.
Yeah.
So
It's not going to change anything except everything, and it's going to be us plus one. Yeah, but
right.
totally the same.
Well, it was different when I came, right?
Yeah, but we asked you to.
Oh, I see. We don't know anything about this new person, right?
No,
We don't
we
know
don't
what they're
fucking
gonna
know
be
who
like.
this is going to be. We didn't fucking ask them. We didn't watch them for weeks before even approaching them.
Oh, nice to know you're spying on me.
You were probably spying on us
fine.
too.
I mean, that's fair.
But no, he just decides, oh yeah, I'm going to make a kid. Great. Fucking awesome. We don't get a say. We just get to deal with it.
Well, that is how it is when most humans do it, I think. Nobody really gets a say except the person who's becoming a parent.
And sometimes
Everybody
they
else
don't
has
even
to
get a
deal with
say.
it. Yeah, they don't. At least Slate's choosing this.
He didn't ask us. He didn't even talk to us about it beforehand. Just one night, oh, hey, by the way, gonna make a kid. Who fucking does that?
Slate, I guess.
Yeah, obviously.
I was furious at first, honestly. I was. It took me a bit. But I trust Slate, you know?
Yeah, I know. I do too. It's not him that I don't trust.
You have to figure whatever he's going to bring into the world, it's hopefully going to be, it's going to have a piece of him. So, and it's going to be someone that we teach and show the world to. So
Right now, I gotta be a fucking
we're going to
aunt as
have
well.
some control over who they're going to be. You are. You're going to be an aunt. You're going to be amazing at it. You're going to be terrible. You're going to teach them all kinds of terrible
I'm
habits.
teaching them all the swear words and all the fucking bad habits.
You
That's my
absolutely
contribution.
are. You are.
My
You're going to
job
give them
is to
spray
make that
paint at
kid
the
a
earliest
pain in his
opportunity.
ass.
Yep. That's what aunts do.
All right.
I believe.
Okay, at least I have a job now.
You do.
I can handle
Very
that.
important. Corrupting the youth. It's important.
Make him pay.
That's right.
All right, maybe it won't be so bad. Or at least I can at least
I
make
think
him
we're gonna
suffer
be all
for it
right.
on a daily basis. All right, let's go do this.
All right, come on.
Gets up,
Let's go do
dusts
this.
herself off, stomps along the beach with you.
Okay.
So when you get back, Gatsby's still got his light going, slates down, finishing up the sculpting. And there's, like I said, the body under the draped shroud. All of it is sand. And he has, while you were gone, etched a whole bunch of the same kind of writing that's on him all over it. And so
That is amazing. Hearken is so interested.
he's whispering under his breath. And if you want to roll intelligence and academics,
Okay.
8 or higher is a success, 10s you reroll for possible more
All
successes.
right. I have 3 dice for intelligence and 1 for academics, so that's 4.
Okay.
And that's 1 success.
He's speaking in Arabic.
Cool.
From the sound of it, it sounds like it might be Arabic. And
Very cool.
it's not Arabic that he's writing, and it's not Sanskrit. Those are lettering that you would at least recognize even if you can't read it.
Yeah.
But it might be in a similar vein to that.
Ooh.
It's also not Hebrew.
Secret.
It's not Hebrew. It's
Secret writing.
yeah. And so he's muttering, chanting under his breath in Arabic as he's finishing the last of the etchings on the body. And he stops and takes a deep breath. And he makes one last inscription on the body. And then he picks up a handful of sand and he gently blows it off of his hand, off of his palm, out over the body. And the sand blows out in the breeze and kind of sprinkles over the body. And it starts to move slightly underneath the shroud. And it shifts a little bit more. And everybody's watching very fascinated right now.
Oh, yeah.
And the waves start getting a bit chaotic. And he notices this. He looks up out at the waves, kind of narrows his gaze, and the water's kind of flowing up the beach. And it was just up to the edge of where he was set up so that he was working with wet sand and mud to make what he was making. But the waves are getting bigger and more intense, and it's not the time of tide that should be happening like that.
Shit.
And it's starting to wash up into it. And he's looking around like he's looking for a source or a cause. And
Can I help him out?
Sure. You want to roll wits and investigation?
Sure can. I've got 1 investigation and 3 in wits. So again, that's 4. And that's 1 success.
It's barely dawn, so it's kind of hard to see out right now. And the sun is coming up from behind you guys because you're facing the beach. You're facing west. The sun rises in the east, I believe. Yeah, right. So, yeah, the sun's behind you.
Yeah.
So you're kind of looking into the sunrise as you're looking up the beach, trying to figure out if there's somebody around, if there's somebody doing something, maybe somebody with alchemy or some kind of magic is interfering. But the waves definitely got heavier out of nowhere. And maybe you see a figure kind of in the glow of the sunlight. It's hard to make out because you're looking into the sunrise. And then you hear Never scream behind you and start swearing
Okay.
and yelling. And you turn around, and the sand sculpture body has erupted with strange black chitinous crabs.
Fuck.
And they are hungry. You have seen things like this once or twice before. They are beings of
Oh no.
flux. These are
No, no, no,
Pandorans.
no, no. No.
The
I
child that he
I
made
fucking
has come to life enough to gain a level of sentience, but then dissolved into flux, and has created a swarm of Pandorans. And Pandorans
fucking
are basically, for those watching, Pandorans are creatures of pure chaos and flux that feed on the divine fire of life. And the divine fire of life doesn't exist in normal people, they have souls. The created have Azoth, the fire of life, the divine spark that is stolen from creation to make the created happen. And because this created never became one, it hungers for that fire. And the only sources of fire around it are you guys. Which
right.
means it wants to
I
eat you guys because
I
it hungers for that which it was denied, and it wants to eat. Or they want to eat. There's a swarm of them, and they keep coming up as if out of the ground. Just suddenly there's over a dozen of them.
fuck.
And they're like
Okay.
decent crab size, like Alaskan king crab kind of things. They're huge.
Okay.
And they're just
Okay.
coming out of the
Uh
ground.
where is everybody? Where is everybody?
Gatsby has backed up and is working some kind of alchemy in preparing to fight. Never is kicking and stomping and just going, crazy boots on any crabs that get too close to her, punting them into the water, stomping them, squishing them, crushing them if
At a
she can.
girl.
Slate isn't moving. He's just staring, almost in like shock. He's frozen.
I'm gonna book it
He
towards Slate
he
then,
is
because he looks
not.
like he's the one that needs the most help.
He's like shut down and doesn't know. You get the feeling that he's just completely like tapped out. He doesn't know what's going on, and it was not something he was prepared for, and he's not coping.
Oi, hey, hey, it didn't work. Come on, we have to go. We have to go. Come on, get up.
Now you know that his bulk and his mass and his strength, the three of you can't make him go anywhere he doesn't want to go. He's
Yeah.
big and he is strong and he is heavy, and you're not going to make him go anywhere he doesn't want to. And he's just sitting there, kind of hunched, as he was when he was doing the inscriptions, and he's just staring. And they aren't trying to eat him yet. They're mostly going after the others, after Never and Gatsby and you. But they are kind of moving around him. And they start to crawl up him, but they aren't attacking him.
Shit, do I
And
know why that is?
you can roll. What knowledge, talents do you have, or skills do you have? What
I
mental
have
knowledges?
mental skills. I have academics, crafts, applied science, investigation, occult. I have 4 in occult, and 3 in
Okay, go
science.
occult. Yeah, go wit. No, go intelligence and occult.
Okay, so that's 7 total dice.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, that is 3 successes. One of them is a 10, so I gotta roll it again. That's a 9. Okay, so 4 successes altogether.
Okay. You think you have an idea. and it's a bad idea. These are not typical Pandorans. The child was far enough along in its creation that it had a level of sentience that Pandorans don't normally get. Pandorans are only animal intelligent, and they only come to life when there is fire, Azoth Pyros around them to wake them up, and then they go back into a statue-like slumber. And all they do is
Right.
exist to eat. This is a different kind of Pandoran. This is the kind that becomes self-aware. It's called the sublimati.
Fuck. That's like the worst thing
It is
that it could be.
self-aware, and that is its father.
Fuck.
And
Fuck.
you see that Never is starting to get overwhelmed, as is Gatsby, who's trying to burn them off. And there's just too many coming. And they're starting to come for you now, too. And
Slate,
Slate rises, and he turns.
please tell them to stop. Come on, they might listen to
He
you.
looks down at you and he says, I know what I must do. Run.
No.
And
No.
he turns and he says something, and it's not in Arabic, it's in some other language. And some of them turn towards him when he says it. And the ones that are on him stop. And Never is now running down the beach away from you guys, with several of them on her, trying to shake them off, trying to get them off of her while she's running. Gatsby is going in the opposite direction, trying to deal with the ones that are on him. And the rest of them have stopped swarming out and are coming towards him, towards Slate, and gathering on him as he starts to walk out into the water.
Don't do this, please. No.
And he just slowly stalks out into the waves, which continue to crash up into him. But he doesn't even slightly sway when they hit him. He's the immovable object. And every wave that hits him just goes around because they can't move him. And more of them are coming up out of the sand still. And the few that Gatsby and Never have managed to shake off have started crawling back this way. And the ones that were coming after you are now going with him out into the water. And you watch as he walks out and just kind of sinks further and further into the waves. And when he's fully submerged and you can't see him anymore, you realize that you are standing on the beach alone, with some of the broken crab shells and bodies that were either crushed by Never or were torched by Gatsby. They're scattered remains across the sand, but you don't see either Gatsby or Never. And Slate is out in the water, who knows how deep now. And it's just you on the beach.
Oh, I think they scream. I think they just oh my god, this is horrible. This is horrible. And they just scream. And then they have to start looking for their family, the two of them that are left. So I think they would have tried to run after one of them, and then maybe after the other, but it's a big area to search, and they have a head start.
And after a
I
while, as the waves are now coming up further, it's washed away their footprints. So you can't tell after a while whether they went into the water or they went up the beach, because you lose their trail in both directions. And
Never.
as the sun is now
Dance.
rising up above the horizon, you do see there is someone standing up there, about 100 yards off, just standing up at the top of the hill. And it's just watching.
Can I tell who it is?
Too far away. It's about 100 yards. You just see like the figure, the silhouette, with the sun up behind them.
Um, it. I can tell from the silhouette that it's not either of my people, though, right?
It's not them. And it is the one that you thought you saw when you first looked, but the sun was really low on the horizon, so it kind of was hard to see. The sun's now just up above them, and you can see them a bit now.
You. What the fuck did you do? I think Hearken goes up toward them.
Okay, as you start to go up that way, it turns and starts to walk away over the hill. You want to roll dexterity and athletics?
Okay.
I'm sure that's a huge pool for you.
Oh yeah, Hearken is great at those things.
Yeah, Hearken's awesome at.
Well, they do have 3 dexterity, which is necessary when you're making things that could explode at any given time.
When your favorite
but
hobby is
only one athletics.
explosions, yeah, having a high dexterity.
Yep. It's probably good, yeah. So that is shockingly, that's 2 successes, an 8 and a 9.
Okay, you get up the hill pretty quick. Your adrenaline's going, you're angry, you're scared, you're distraught, all of these things. And you're charging up the hill. And as you get up to the top of the hill, and I'm really struggling to resist Kate Bush references right now. You get to the top.
Such a good song,
I know, right?
Too.
So you get up to the top of the hill, and you look around, and they're gone. You cannot see anyone there.
What?
Roll wits and investigation.
Okay. Remind myself. Okay, so that's going to be... That's 2 10s. So I'll roll those again. Another 2 10s. And there's it. Okay, so that's 5 successes.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know how I did that.
You're going to get a lot of info here. All right. So you're up at the top of the hill now. And as you're looking around at the top of the hill, and then off further in the east is, the parking and the streets and everything. Where you're standing, you can't see where anybody could have gone. They're gone, but there's nowhere they could have gone. They just disappeared. But you do notice symbols drawn in the sand all over up here. And it looks like
what the fuck are these?
While Slate was doing his creation of the child and sculpting, somebody up here was doing their own digging in the sand. And these are all alchemical symbols. This is alchemical ritual. Somebody was actively doing alchemy up here while you guys were down there.
Do I recognize the symbols, like, from my research and so forth?
You recognize a lot of them as being different elements and different equations and things. But what really gets you, and you have to kind of step back and look at all of it together, is that it is all done in a spiral. All of the designs form a spiral that bursts out from the center.
What the fuck is this?
You are aware of rumors that there are those created who turn to Flux as a path, forsaking humanity, forsaking the soul, and instead embrace Flux and embrace the monster. And we're not talking about those who embrace being the created and don't see a point in becoming human, like Ark. We're talking about those who embrace the monstrous, the chaotic, embrace the part of them that should not be and cannot exist, yet does.
Right.
Sometimes they're called the 100-handed or the Centimani. They are those who walk a very dark path. And the spiral is their symbol. The spiral is their design. The spiral is madness. and you know that it is rumored that the hundred-handed are able to twist the alchemy of other created and distort it and make it contort and warp and become strange and unnatural. And it looks like someone knew what you were doing, was watching, and sabotaged it. For what reason? Who's to say? Who they were or how they knew that this was going to be going down here today? No idea. But this is clearly a design of someone who knew what was happening, knew what they were doing, and had clear intent. And it is one of your own kind. It is one of the created who follows Flux.
I don't know where you are. I doubt you can still hear me. I'm gonna make you pay. And I'm gonna make sure this never happens again. I think their first instinct is to just kick the hell out of the symbols and just like destroy it.
Okay.
But I think probably their research gets the better of them and they do sketch it out first.
Well, what I was going to say is you rolled so well on your the investigation roll there that I was going to, for the purposes of all of those symbols and the design they made, I was going to give you basically a photographic memory of that moment that you could reproduce them from memory. You were so invested and your scientific brain was so on in trying to decipher the puzzle in front of you that you could draw it in your sleep. You know everything
and
that's on the
board. And it's such a moment of trauma, too, that it's just like, it's
ingrained
embedded
in you. Yes, you will never forget that. In fact, you probably have nightmares of those symbols.
Oh, yeah. I am sure that Hearken has nightmares about that.
To go ahead and...
yeah, then I think they kicked the shit out of it.
Yeah. Realizing that they've now destroyed it, but also realizing that it doesn't matter because they're never going to be able to forget it. It's all in their brain. Right. It's all in their mind for better and worse. To go ahead and wrap this up, as we're running a little long, when Hearken gets back to camp, the others haven't come. Never and Gatsby have not been to camp. Their things are still there. So are yours. So are Slate's. And I'm assuming he probably waits days for them to come back. Gives them a chance.
Oh, they definitely wait. I think they wait weeks, maybe even months, just to see. Because if they go anywhere else, it's how are they going to find Hearken again? How is Hearken going to find them again? So I think they wait for a long time. And then I think they finally...
because they don't come back. They don't show
and up. They search, too. They definitely search.
And nobody has seen them. There's no word of them. There is no sign of the one that was up at the top of the hill either.
Yeah, I'm sure they look for them, too.
They left a lot of evidence there at the scene of what they did, but they don't leave any further evidence of who they were or where they went.
So I think eventually Hearken would pack everything up really carefully, like all of the belongings of their family members. And I think they would carry all of it, as difficult as that might be, and start walking back to their home base, because that's the only place they can think of to go where Gatsby or Never might find them. Yeah.
And they can't stay here forever. And
right.
It's getting harder by the day.
It's winter by now. Yeah.
And it's getting harder by the day to just stay there with all that around and all the memory. And if they could get back to you, you know that they're the types that would. So something has kept them from coming back.
Right. And I can't find them. So my best hope is to go back to where they found me the first time and hope that maybe they'll come back. And at that point, I think Hearken just like buries themselves in research and trying to figure out like what are the through lines of all the successful rituals and what are the ways that they could be disrupted and how can we prevent that from ever happening again. And this is their focus, and this is really all they care about.
Tearing apart what the symbols they left were and what they meant. And how it would
Absolutely.
have
Yep.
affected, how it might have affected what Slate was doing.
And how can we stop that from happening? And
Right.
yeah, all
And
that.
anything you can gain about that. Okay. So we'll go ahead
Yeah,
and end it here. I think this is a good stopping point. A
I
good
think so. Yeah.
sad, depressing, happy stopping point. Um,
Yeah. All my characters have backgrounds with
I
trauma.
know. So we'll go ahead and end things here. Thank you so much, Ren. And now
Thank
people will understand
you.
why Hearken is a crabby bastard when they meet him in episode 1. It wasn't always
Yeah,
that way.
it wasn't, but they don't want to go through that
No.
again. They don't want to lose anybody else. And they tolerate Ark coming up to complain or, play chess occasionally, but
Ark's got
that's about all the contact with anybody else that they're interested in.
Ark is of the kind that never was, and so probably reminds them a bit
Yeah,
of
I
her.
think there's a little bit of sentimentality there. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
there's a bit of, yeah, not nearly as volatile as Never, but
I was
definitely
gonna say
has.
temperament different,
Yeah.
different, but yeah.
Okay. All right, then. Thank you so much. And hang on.
So fun. And if you want to say hi, I'm Lemon Alchemy on Twitter. The word liminal, which I love because it means like in between spaces, spaces where change happens, where the next thing you do is going to change everything. And then, of course, the word alchemy also means, changed. So I smushed the words together. So if you want to say hi on Twitter, you're welcome to say hi. Thank
And
you.
thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Lanny. This was
And
so
I'm
much fun.
I'm looking forward to the first session. Tomorrow,
Me
Jackson and
too.
I are getting together, and we're doing Crisis slab scene.
Oh, it's gonna be so fun.
And then hopefully on Friday, Lori and I are getting together, and we're doing a theme of slab scene.
That's
So if I
awesome.
can get all of them done by this weekend, then we might be able to start next Wednesday.
That is very exciting.
If necessary, we could
I'm looking
do
forward
another
to that.
week in between to let everybody get ready. But I'm hoping that we can actually start rolling on next Wednesday. So, all right, thank you so much, Ren, and thank you all. And
Thank
again,
you.
like, subscribe, and if you're over on the Patreon, kick in a few bucks if you can. Whatever you end up pledging is, as long as it's $1, that's all that's required to access everything that's behind the paywall. So we didn't want to put a high price on things or have tiers because so many disabled people are low income and live in poverty, and this is for the disabled community. Because of language and adult themes and stuff, we can't just post it publicly there. We have to put it behind the paywall. But $1 is all it takes. So just $1 a month is all you need to pledge to get access to everything. And if you can and you're in a position to give more, then we really appreciate that. But every bit helps. So thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.